Welcome to Serial Podcast 9.
So do you want me to say where I'm from, or I'll just say
Go.
I'll say nothing, and then Gerard will say "were." Hi, I'm Kevin Peterson.
Where? Okay, go.
Hi, I'm Kevin Peterson.
And I'm Gerard D. Peralta, and we're from Serial 9.
And I'm Ryan Benoit from Dodo Logic, and this is Serial Podcast 9, episode 11.
Today we're talking about police and its relationship with our car culture.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
Wow, I can't believe we afforded the rights to that song. How did we get that?
Though, man, if that's what it feels like.
So basically, you want to have a sick car and you want to drive it. But guess what? You're not allowed.
We've brought it up a few times on the podcast, and I think people local to Vancouver totally get it. And I feel like most people can sympathize with it or relate.
Yeah, it depends where you're from.
Yeah, depends where you're from. But I feel like a lot of people maybe have problems.
If you guys can drive whatever you want at all times, fuck you, because we're jealous as shit.
Yeah, you are in a great position.
Yeah, we used to be able to.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't too long ago.
Yeah.
Till 3 years ago?
I mean, you still were a little bit sketched out about it, but it wasn't like a raging rampage of VIs.
It feels like the word epidemic is, you know what I mean? That's how you would honestly describe it. It's like stock cars are getting VIs, brand new BMWs are getting VIs.
Porsches
VIs vehicle inspection. This is where they force you to go and get your car inspected. There's 3 levels. There's box 1, which is they immediately take your car off the road, seize your license plates, and tow the vehicle right there. And you have to get it inspected before you can get legal insurance again and even drive the car or get plates. Box 2 is you can still drive it. You have 30 days to get the inspection done. If you don't get it done, they can ticket you after that, which is a pretty hefty ticket for not getting it done. And then most times they'll just give you that box 1 right then.
Yeah, I mean, generally,
box 3 is basically nothing.
Box 3 is just like a fix-it ticket. Like, oh, hey, come by the shop and show us that you put the silencer in your fucking exhaust, and then you're good to go.
Fix your burnt out headlight.
Yeah,
I feel like they don't give a lot of those anymore.
No, that doesn't even exist anymore. I mean, even box 2, really, it's
all or nothing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that they didn't exist before. I mean, even we built a Mazda 3. I don't even know how long ago that was, in 2013, and that thing got a box 1. It was just 7 degrees of camber, stretch tires. I don't know who the cop was, but it was in Richmond, and he got a VI. It was pretty ridiculous. They towed it across a parking lot into a Canadian Tire, which is basically like a Pep Boys, to get inspected. It was ridiculous.
I had to pay that tow bill to go across the parking lot.
Kevin got a VI in his Celsior.
Kevin's had lots of VIs.
Kevin is the VI king.
Basically.
No, I'm definitely not the VI king.
Who's the VI?
I mean, I know Matt Peterson's got more VIs than I have.
It's a real Game of Thrones type situation for the VI king. Here's the thing. I've gone through, prior to the state that we're in now, gone through and had cops see my car on the wall wheels that I had, and then the CR guys. And there was a point where that was okay. That was fine. Feel like that point doesn't exist anymore. Vancouver folklore says that it comes from someone lipping off a cop when they got a VI, right? That's where the whole rumor for all of this is. Someone lipped off a cop when they were getting a VI, and then they made it personal, and they harassed the cop on social media. Now, I can't fact check this.
Yeah,
people that I believe have told me, and I'm I trust you, but
so now said cop and maybe some other cops are just on basically a rampage against anybody with a modified car, exhaust, even stuff that's factory, like sport mode on a BMW or a Porsche, stock.
They've been VIing stock street legal dirt bikes.
Yeah.
Any motors, because right now there's that whole, every spring there's a motorcycle noise blitz. It happened, West Van just released a statement, and
that's right.
it happens every spring, but that coincides with all the people bringing their nice cars out and trying to enjoy their hobby.
And I mean, I assume that it's relatable, like in California, and in other places. Like I know they have rules. Obviously, it's up to you to whether or not you follow them. Most of the people that we see, or the circle that we're in, don't follow them because they're kind of bullshit.
I mean, I feel like within reason. I don't think my car is that ludicrous, but I do think I'd get a VI if I drove it. Like if the cops saw it. Alex from Rare Spec got a VI in his Crown Wagon, and there was nothing like super crazy about that car. It was on wheels and like
lowered,
it's mildly lowered.
I mean, I was going to say the problem with the whole situation is it's up to the officer's discretion, and they have no actual or formal training in the matter at all. So they can just have a bias and just go against that type of vehicle or that type of modification. Like it's gotten to the point now where they were just doing the decibel check so wrong and everyone was calling them out on it, but it's gone to court a bunch of times, and it's been thrown out that the judges don't care that they're doing it wrong, because it says that the law is like it's subjective to the officer. Yeah. So now they know that they don't even have to do it correctly, and they're not even doing the test anymore. They're just saying, hey, it's too loud. And people are being like, you didn't even test it. And they're like, yeah, so what? I say it's too loud.
Yeah, that's kind of the main problem is I don't know how it works in other places or other countries, but here it's basically, like you said, you're at the mercy of the police officer. Your car's too low. I mean, is it? Is your car too loud? Could be, could not be. I don't know. Like, it seems as though basically if you modify it from stock, or maybe even if it's just an aggressive stock car that is remotely loud, like, I mean, a Fiat 500, they're pretty loud and they're completely stock. Those cars are also getting VI'd. So there's not really
that's the whole problem. It's like, like exactly. Like if you had a 500 Abarth, that thing is so loud from stock. If you had a BMW X5, it has, 5 degrees negative camber stock. Like, like there's all of these cars that are stock that have these things that like are fine everywhere and totally acceptable, but in like all of a sudden if you have it, it's not acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the thing too. Like in Europe, they have different regulations, or in Japan they have different regulations, and I mean, it's not like those things are wrong here realistically, but the regulations are just simply different. But like there's no actual line. It's sort of like a made up line. You pulled over.
It's a subjective thing, right?
Yeah.
So the cop can say like, I feel as if your car may be illegal.
It's called police officer, Ryan. Okay, I'd appreciate if you.
What did I call it? Popo? Cop. They don't like being called cops?
Oh, you might as well say pig, okay? That's disrespectful.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They call peace officers.
Sure they are. Police officer. Cops? They don't like being called cops. There's a whole TV show called Cops. I don't understand.
Yeah, and what does the TV show?
Not anymore, there's not.
They got rid of it. That's right. Because of all of the systemic things. I think my favorite one was the stock Porsche that got pulled over. Kevin, you referenced this. They did the decibel check on it and they did it wrong and it failed. So then the Porsche Club got together and they fought it, and they did win that one. We all felt like it was a bit of a win. But when you read the messaging on it, it was very upsetting to me, because I remember they had to keep saying, these are really great police officers and they're just doing their job. It was like really good people, just a faulty test, really good people, really good. And I thought, man, if I did a shitty job at work, nobody's going to pat me on the back and say it's okay. Like if I start doing the wrong thing over and over and over again, nobody's going to keep telling me how great I am at my job. They're going to be like, no,
but it's like, that's the thing is like, okay, so you won this one. The next time you see that same cop, he's going to be like, hey, remember me? Remember we went to court? Remember you won? Maybe not this time.
Yeah.
I literally
watches the Watchmen.
I have literally won a case in court where a cop gave me a VI. I got it done. Then he saw me again and pulled me over and gave me a ticket for not complying with the original notice and order. So basically he's saying I didn't get the inspection done. So obviously I did. He gave me another VI then, which I also got done. And then I had to drive that car to court where I disputed this other ticket. And I was super scared to park the car at the courthouse, so I parked it in like a hotel parking lot and walked to the courthouse. So then anyway, like in the court, he comes up and he's like, yo, I have this huge file folder. He's showing me, he's like, all this is evidence against you and all this stuff. And he's like, you got to plead guilty. And I'm just like, I don't know. So we go in front of the court and I explain, I'm like, hey, like, you know, like the officer gave me this ticket to get an inspection done. I went to one of the BC designated places. I got it done. Then he pulled me over again and gave me a ticket for not getting it done. Like, did I not get it done? It seems like I got it done. And then the judge just started yelling at the cop, told me to leave, and continued yelling at the cop as I was walking out the door. And then the cop chases me down in the courtroom hallway. He's like, Kevin. And he's like, yeah, I gave you the wrong ticket. Like, next time I'm going to give you a different ticket if I ever see you again. Like, basically you're screwed. And I was like, okay. And I left, and that was my afternoon off of work.
It sounds like you kind of got it done though, which is good.
Still afraid to drive my car that's totally safe.
In their defense though, honestly, like, I mean, it kind of happens like us having an aftermarket parts manufacturing company. We sell aftermarket parts, and it's sort of up to the end user to install said parts. And it's like, you could have one dude that's built 10 cars and could install control arms in his sleep. And then you got this noob who's never even seen a control arm before, and you're expecting him to install that on his car. And I mean, we get shit all the time where people, like, the adjuster falls out, or like, you know, the shit wasn't tight and they're like, oh, my control arm broke. And in fact, they installed it incorrectly. So now how is anybody supposed to know that any aftermarket part or any modification done to your car was done in a way that's safe or not safe? You know what I mean? Like, maybe they're just like, oh, modified? No, like, not allowed.
Well, let me answer that question for you. I had the person who designed the part put it on my car, so I think I'm okay.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah. It's the low hanging fruit though, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to like look at like road safety as a whole, and you're like, we got to like make these roads safer or something.
Yeah.
Like, the easiest thing to spot.
No, really,
is a
it's
modified
like
car.
We need some more revenue from tickets and
no,
bullshit.
that totally too. Yeah, like all of the BC services were asked to find a budget cut in the last year, and they were like, if we can reduce 9%, like ambulance, fire, paramedics, and like, you know, police, they were like, then it can all be good. All of the other places were like, yeah, we can find a 9% budget cut. The police were, I was like, absolutely not. There's no way we'll take any budget cut. And then in the end, they ended up getting their budgets cut. So it's not a big surprise. They're just like doing massive like taxation, revenue generation.
I do agree though. We are low hanging fruit in the way it's like they went after the Porsches, and the Porsches could easily be like, they fought it, right? And they won because like, chances are if you drive a Porsche and you're in the Porsche club, you have some money and
but I mean, the car is also
what about
stock.
And the car is also
all the
stock.
BMWs? But the same thing. What about that M4? It was a press car.
Exactly.
It was literally a press car for BMW. That got a VI.
But I mean, I think after a while, that level of VIing those stock cars is also going to fail, because the judge eventually, or like the people who are getting these VIs will eventually be like, hey man, my car is absolutely 100% from the factory. And then the judge, one of these times, is going to be
you don't get to talk to the judge though. Like,
oh yeah, right.
On a VI,
right.
it's
right.
Oh, that's right.
How did
you talk to the judge on a VI? Oh, you had tickets.
Because it was a ticket for not doing the VI. It was a failure. A failure to comply with notice.
So if you want to get the police officer in court, you gotta get them to give you a ticket for not fixing your VI, and then you can meet them there and be like, "It's actually a stock car." And then they get yelled at by the judge, but then they chase you down in the hallway and like Law and Order style and tell you that they're going to get you, sucker. And then that's how that's.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It is.
That was Brooklyn Nine-Nine, actually.
I mean, we live in Vancouver. We have like literally one of the biggest drug problems in the world. And, but it's no big deal. I mean, let's just pull over modified cars.
Even as a separate thing, it's mind-blowing because you can't do anything about it. Like we just said, on a VI, you can't actually fight it. And look, I'm not out here saying that all import cars or all cars need to be left alone.
Yeah, we're also not taking into account average Joe who has like bald ass tires and like busted ball joints and like.
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like there's this huge spectrum where it's like, yeah, sure, that Celsius with 20 degrees of camber is totally illegal. Yeah, it's like there's that car, but then there's also like the same, like the guy who works in the industrial complex with us has this Chevy Sprint or whatever it is, and it has the driver's window is Lexan held up with duct tape, and the passenger or the whole back seat is garbage.
Not the back seat, the whole garbage. Back of the car.
Yeah, and it's up to like the window level, and then there's like a spare tire on top of that. And like the windshield is just like a massive crack. It's
has
like
half a headlight.
How is this thing driving every day? It's like, and also I have the same car. The Echo is like that. Like the wheel bearing's gonna fall out. Like it feels like the entire car is gonna like shake itself apart. The front windshield, like you can push it out with your hand. Like water comes in the front windshield. Like it leaks like it's like, how is that car legal? I never get looked at. I never, I could drive that thing for another 7 years just as fucked up as possible, and it's never going to be a problem. But like the minute I have an exhaust or lower my car, instantly I'm screwed. Like no matter how up to date or safe it is.
So one, I'm slightly worried about you driving this Echo now. I wasn't worried until now, and you're like, I can push the windshield out. So maybe look into that so you don't die driving that. That would be a very tragic end to Kevin. Just like, how did Kevin die? Oh, he died doing what he loves, just driving shit boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Bury me in a shit box.
Now it's like you have this passion and it's modifying cars, or just, you want to get together with some friends. I mean, maybe, remove COVID from the equation, but yeah, you want to get together with some friends. You got a car club, you have car meets, all that shit is healthy, man. Like you're not on the streets, you're not peddling crack, you're not, getting drunk at some basement fucking, you're building a car, you're going to a meet, you're meeting with other people that are into the same thing as you. It's a healthy hobby, man. Like,
yeah.
But like
stimulating the economy, but
you're not allowed to do it. It's too much. It's too much to have a lowered car with wheels.
And I feel like, so initially, like if you talk to most people in the Lower Mainland, they're like, I'm not going anywhere near downtown Vancouver.
I was going to say, I think it's by design. I think it's not even the VPD. I think it's Vancouver as a city. They have a goal and they're trying to be the greenest city in the world. And you can't have the greenest city in the world with a bunch of loud modified cars going around. They don't want any cars in Vancouver. They just want all bike lanes and public transit
and Teslas.
And then exactly. And the low hanging fruit is the loud modified car.
I was going to add,
they want to tax driving downtown.
I was going to add, it feels though as if it's like the ripple effect and it is going out further. So I mean, it is spring, and I understand in spring all police enforcement do their like, their annual like crackdown on modified cars. But it does seem like in the Lower Mainland it is getting worse. But yeah, like I saw a post from the island about them talking about like pulling over an S chassis. The
island's getting pretty bad, I heard too.
Yeah. And like, yeah, people in Saskatchewan, obviously right now, I was reading stuff on there, are dealing with it. And it's an annual thing. So I think they can understand what we're talking about in the sense that for 1 month, they have to deal with the speed initiative, I think is what it is. Project Speed is what they call it in Saskatchewan, which is very fun because you know that they came up with the name for Project Speed before they like figured out what it would stand for, because it stands for Spring Public Education Enforcement Drive. So I mean, they were like, we got to call it Speed, and the logo's got to be attack, and it's got to be going to red line. And it's like, okay. And that's what it is. So I think people can like understand what we're saying. And I see people being very frustrated with police officers on social media every time they get pulled over. So I think there is that general sense. It's like every person who has a done up car kind of right now understands what it feels like. Yeah, we've been kind of like moaning about it for the last however long here on this podcast. But at the end of the day, it's like we're moaning about it because it's the only thing we can do. There's no viable way to fight this, as far as I know. If we can move this forward, what are possible solutions? How do you ever see this ending? Like, how does this play out for us?
I mean, I don't know. I've had this idea in my head for a while. It's basically just like the NRA for automotive enthusiasts. It's like a lobbying group where like all these people agree to join this group or union, if you will, and like they put that, that money that they pay each year in towards trying to push legislation that helps people who want to have a car that's modified.
Would they make their own sort of set of rules or something? Or
no, you just like the people who are making the laws, or maybe you go to the police unions and you talk to them and you grease the backs or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like
give them the old greasy handshake.
I feel like that would probably be the most effective, but I mean, you could probably have like what's the word? Maybe like a yearly inspection. And then if you pass that, then, and maybe
that used to be a BC thing. Yeah. And
yeah,
and that's a common thing in like the UK and Japan, MOT and
exactly. Japan. MOT, shaken, whatever you call it. And I mean, yeah, there's obviously ways to get around that, but I think at that point too, then you would get all those Sprints and Echoes and trucks and all that shit that's actually like unsafe. Whereas like, my car is low. It has like, nice sticky tires, new ball joints, all new bushings. Like, the car is
brakes, like everything good. Has gone over. Yeah.
But I mean, that's us. Like, I mean, there are definitely people that have modified cars and the shit's held on with zip ties and, the bumper could fly off at 2 seconds and the wheels are like held on with the, Chinese lug nuts and they're going to.
What about like Australia? It feels like Australia, it's kind of hard to have a modified car. Or is that New Zealand?
It has to be engineered. No, that's Australia. It has to be like enginered.
Yeah, engineered. Yeah.
So all the mods.
Like it's kind of hard, but same thing. It has to be legit. It has to be good. And like same thing, like like our equivalent would be like a like CVSE.
Yeah, CVSE is cracking down hard right now.
Would have to sign off and be like, this is all done safely,
Yeah, which wouldn't be bad because then you could just actually do mods and they would be somewhat, legal.
They'd have to be done properly,
yeah,
and like professionally.
And then, but obviously everything becomes more expensive at that point, and we know that because like literally everything that comes out of Australia is like triple the price. So it's like
so SEMA was meant to be somewhat like the NRA for the
but SEMA doesn't really operate in Canada.
Right. So there's that. Yeah, I mean, maybe that is the best thing because like whenever I think about it in my mind, I'm like, what are the things you can do? And it's like, you can't really do a protest because it would be like, what? Everyone's going to hop in their done-up cars, drive downtown. And it's like, they might get 20 of us, but they won't get all of us. And
we've talked about it.
Yeah. And it's like, well, they'll still get someone. And nobody wants to put their car up on the chopping block, I feel like, anyway, for that. I wanted to add, though, the thing that I've noticed now is like, because we just did this episode and the getting into 4x4ing, I think that the cops are now they're coming for the 4x4.
They're coming for everything. They're coming for the bikes. They're coming for and that's how we got around it before. It's like I had like my ridiculous car that like, I would drive once in a while, but like, that thing's so fucking illegal. I mean, I guess it's not so illegal, but yeah, I mean, in the eyes of the law.
Like 3 years ago, you could just drive that thing all the time. And that's the thing. It's not even so illegal. It's not illegal at all. Like
it's just because it has a straight
quite
pipe,
low.
Like, stretch tires,
it's loud and exactly.
But I mean, like, do any of these normal people throw their cars around corners at like 100 kilometers an hour or whatever? And like, can they drive? Like, can they get the car sideways and control it? Like, fuck no. Half the people can't even park in a fucking parallel spot for fuck's sakes. Like
with 100 fucking computers and a 360 camera and like sonar and radar and satellite guidance.
So to answer your question, Gerard, I do not believe that the general population can drift as good as you. No, I don't think they can.
Whatever, man. I hit walls, so I'm not that great.
Man, I mean, we used to say this for a long time I don't know, like we as the
SERIALNINE
electoral but it should be a classed licensing system.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like you can't go like above this speed or drive at these certain times or something. It's like if you haven't proven yourself having the ability to, like, it'd be
cool if that was also linked to your car. Like if you had level, like, I don't know, if it went 1 through 5.
That's never like the capitalism would never let you get it down with that. That's some pure socialism right there.
But that would make sense. Like you couldn't have a level 5 car if you didn't have a level 5 license. And
so you're going to say your brother-in-law can't buy the Taycan because he's just not a good, he's not there.
Yeah,
he's not there yet, buddy.
Well, I mean, he didn't do the work.
He's got to go get the XP to get it. You know, he's got to get those experience points.
He hasn't unlocked it yet.
I mean, it is what it is, man.
Doesn't mean he can unlock it.
I said XP, and I could see Gerard looking at me like I needed to say experience points.
I know what XP means. I play video games.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right?
Like, how you fucking nerd.
Especially in Vancouver, how many dudes buy a $200,000 car as their first fucking car? That's unbelievable.
That is the other side of this, is that there are a ton of people driving around like super crazy, like supercars that have like the N on the back for like new driver, right? Like there's totally Alex. That. Yeah, there's
caught an N on the back.
But there's also this parade of extremely illegally modified supercars being escorted by Vancouver traffic police to go do charity runs. Somehow that is completely fine, but those cars are all plated and legal, never get VIs.
I mean, like, we're trying to come up with all these solutions. I know I asked that question, but the more we talk about it, like the more it's just like, why don't they just leave us alone? Like, we can't be that big of a
honestly, that would be the best.
Because so here's low-hanging revenue generation, you know?
I think there's another part to this.
This person has enough money to have a car, and then to modify the car, they can obviously pay for the ticket.
But how much is a box one anyways? Isn't it only $80? And then you obviously the inspection and all that shit, but like the inspection money doesn't.
No, there's no actual, like, on a box one. There's no actual monetary thing.
So where does the revenue come from?
When they tack on the no mud flaps, like wheels extend further than the fender, modified exhaust, like excessive noise, which is 3 points on your license. So that's a continuous ticket that you have to pay off for multiple years. Like all of those, like, that's the thing, is like they're not just giving a VI anymore. Like, some dude just got a VI and $2,000 worth of extra tickets.
Yeah, I mean that's just like salt in the wound, right?
That's enough to make anyone quit.
Yeah,
like if that's like your first experience with a modified car, you think you're gonna want to like continue along in that game?
I mean, at this point, if someone gave me $2,000 just for driving my car, like being like, you got to pay me $2,000, I might be like, maybe I should quit, because like that is that's a ton of money. I drive that car.
No shit.
1 to 2 times a year because I'm terrified to move it out of my neighborhood, and I won't put plates on it, hoping that maybe that affects it, but I don't even know. And yeah, like if someone gave me that amount of a ticket and being like, cool, so I drove this car for 1 day, now I can no longer drive it, and it's $2,000 on top of that, it's like, well, fuck me. Like, I gotta save up to ever drive this car again. Like,
okay, so Kevin, you had a VI in your Celsior, and that was mainly because it had 20 degrees of camber and super stretch tires, and was also quite loud. What else?
Yeah, like what else did I get a VI for that time?
Like what? No, like no. I mean, in general, like how many VIs? How many VIs really have you had in the last like relatable time?
I think I've had like 8 VIs.
Okay.
There was the most recently was the one on the Celsior, but then there was like a pretty good gap. But also, like, I maybe didn't have a super crazy car in that time.
Did you ever get VI in the Cressidas, the 1J Cressidas?
Yes, I got a VI in the 1J Cressida, but that was when I turned out very aggressively in front of a cop car, and
the brown one
followed me. Yeah, he followed me, and I had a roll cage that was like 4 inches off of the roof of the car. Like, it was a really, really low roll cage because we messed up the measurements. So he gave me a VI in that, which I got passed relatively easily. Like, you know, it had a completely raw, unpainted roll cage that was 4 inches off the roof of the car.
Yeah,
and I still got it passed. So
what else?
I had a bunch on my Corolla.
The pink one.
The pink one, yeah. I remember I got a VI on the pink one for being too low. Within a week, I got it passed, and I got pulled over by the same cop. And after I got the VI, I was like, "Whoa, shit!" You know, like, I had raised it up. I'm like, "Well, I might as well lower it lower than it was before." So then I had lowered it more, and he was so mad that the car was lower than it was when he gave me the VI, and I had let it passed. So at that point he gave me a box 1, and that was the day of a drift event.
Oh, damn.
So that was brutal. And then there was that other one where I had my Cressida. So this
like a
was
stock one, right?
No, it was lowered. I'd cut the springs. So I mean, it was probably unsafe. But so that was the one where I'd gotten the VI, gotten it passed, and then he gave me another VI.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that I won that ticket for not complying with the notice and order, that didn't exclude me from having to get the second inspection that he gave me that day done. I still had to get that done.
The question, I guess, is like, who polices the police? And the answer is no one. Like,
no one.
I've seen people say like, well, just make sure you like document and write into the police and like make a complaint every time this happens, because if it happens enough, they'll be forced to investigate it. And then I like briefly looked into that, and it actually said no, the ranking officer has to actually decide that it's a problem. Like, it becomes a subjective thing again, right? So it's like, they look at each complaint and be like, well, no, this is harassment, and it's not what it, there's no legitimacy to it.
Yeah.
And they've brought it up, and the police said they have no interest in changing what they're doing. I'm going to add this though. The one thing that I think that doesn't help, and we've done a very good job of this, because in Vancouver, everyone knows the one cop's name to be the most scared of. And we haven't said it, but if you go on any Facebook group in Vancouver, people say that cop's name, they make fun of them. People they go out of their way. And I have no doubt in my mind that someone is in those social media groups reading those comments. And I have an inkling that they love being the boogeyman, because it's like you've created this
totally
persona for a person that everyone's terrified of. If that cop rolls up on you, you're fucked. And then everyone's on there being like, oh, trying to make fun of them. And it's like, it's almost the fueled by hate thing, like you go back to Kevin being like, some dudes were hating on my car and I loved it. It's like some dudes are hating on that cop and he loves it because he's like, this is fuel for me.
Fully.
This fuels me to make sure that he's like, I'm now doing the right thing. And part of me wonders if we just all collectively stopped saying that person's name out loud and didn't acknowledge it, maybe it would die down a bit. I mean, we wouldn't know because people wouldn't be posting up every time they got a VI, and that would be the downside of it. So it'd be harder to know. But I wonder if we just because I think the one thing that we've learned is like, no matter what you say or do or how you feel, you're not going to win. But I don't think picking a fight on that level is also helping the problem any more than.
No, I mean, if it's true that that's what started this, there's really no way to end it. And like, especially perpetuating that same, starting point every single time is not going to make it better.
And you can't just think it's one officer, because it's not.
No, I mean, like I was just
in VPD, there's like 3 or 4 that have their little thing that's their main thing. And it seems like, in Richmond, there's one, in Surrey, there's one, in Abbotsford, there's one. Yeah, it's always that's the thing. It's always low hanging fruit that they can just ticket you for. And
it doesn't help though that someone at a car show put a giant fuck VPD sticker on the windshield of their car.
But I mean, those are kids, man. I mean, honestly, like if this whole thing's true, is it also a kid that did the stupid shit? And like when you're a kid, you think it's fucking cool to like pick fights with, you think it's cool to rock like huge, stupid fuck you stickers. And you think it's cool to like piss off people. But then all of a sudden you have, people breaking into your house and like vandalizing your shit. And you're like, man, like maybe it wasn't so cool to be this like stupid punk kid or whatever,
Right. None of us are punk kid. Gerard's punk kid in a 44-year-old responsible man's body. But none of us are that, but it doesn't matter because our cars
the damage is done.
Yeah, the cars are seen as a thing. And so like, I wonder, like, would I get a VI if I had June in the back? Like, would that be a thing? Like if I
I'll tell you what, that's why I was asking Kevin, and I was going to share my stories. So I've had a VI in my truck, like my Xterra, in Squamish with Dominic in the car going to get a Christmas tree. So like basically just crossed the intersection in Squamish. The tires were sticking out on the Xterra, I guess too much. Pulls me over, says, hey, you can't have this. You have no mud flaps, blah, blah. So I got a VI. And yeah, you definitely 100% can get a VI with your kid and friends, that, and going to do something cool with your kid for Christmas. And then 2 other VIs I had were in West Van, completely unrelated to Vancouver stuff, but basically, modified car, dude with no shirt on in West Van. West Van, if for people that don't know, is kind of like a bougie kind of area of Vancouver. And here's this kid from Surrey with like this ridiculous car. It's not a BMW. It's not a Mercedes. It's not a Jag or a Lambo. And then they're like, oh, what are you doing here? Nothing, or like whatever the hell you were doing. It doesn't matter what you say. They're just like, hey, get the fuck out of here. Your license says Surrey. Like, what are you doing in our hood? Like, boom, VI. Right. And then the other one was in Surrey, which is really weird because it was in like a section of Surrey that like I would assume I would never get a VI, which is on Scott Road. And that was in the white car. That was in the in California Motoristo. So like 10 degrees of camber, super, super low, like fully like VI-able. But push came to shove and the cop was actually pretty cool. He just gave me $1.2 and kind of like left. I was like, okay, do I drive it? Do I not drive it? Like, anyways, those are my recent ones. But yeah, none of them were from those cops or anything like that.
Right. That's the thing is I've had experiences with cops that are fairly chill too. It's like, so when I did the Altezza, kind of everything happened at once. I did the airlift struts and like all of the arms and the subframe and diff bushings, like everything within like 3 days. And like the first time I drove it, I was dropping parts off to be shipped, and a cop came up behind my car, basically blocking me in, and was like, yo, like this car, I'm giving you a VI. And I just kind of was like, no, like you're not, like it's fine, don't worry about it. And then like I just kept saying like, no, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. And eventually he was like, all right, well, like whatever, like I'm not going to give you a VI, but someone will one day. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine, as long as it's not you today. And then that car never got a VI. Yeah. Like from then on, it was fine, and like nobody ever gave me a VI on that car.
Yeah, I had a couple experiences like that, like with the yellow car back in the day, like driving downtown, and I mean that thing had a like literally like a 3.5-inch straight pipe, and it was like super, stretch tires, like tucking rim almost, and you're going around downtown and you're like kind of creeping up hills because there's traffic, and like I have 2 motorcycle cops on my ass, and I can hear them saying, "Oh, like the rim's pretty close to the fender and stuff." And I was just like, man, I'm surely getting pulled over. I'm surely getting VI. And they're like, yeah, like that paint looks really nice. Like, and that's the thing is like back then, if you had a well put together car and it looked like you knew what the fuck you were doing, that meant something. Like if your car didn't have zip ties hanging off of it and have different colored bumpers and like 2 different sets of wheels, like, it was like a cohesive, you can tell that the person who built that car was like, that's their pride and joy. And that used to, weigh in a little bit, but there was always some sort of cool interaction with cops. But yeah, I mean, it seems fewer and far between these days. I wonder how many people like don't really know what's even going on. That there's all sorts of people from all walks of life that have cool cars.
Totally.
And now they're going to bring out this car that they've had for years and years and years, and all of a sudden they're going to get a vehicle inspection on it, and like they only drive it 2 or 3 times a year, and they might be completely like ignorant to the fact that there is this blitz going on,
Totally.
I don't even think it's a blitz anymore.
It's not even a blitz at this point.
Yeah, it's just a full-on game plan. Yeah, it's like it's a game. It's just how they live. Here's the thing: do muscle cars get it? Like, do they get hit with it? This is the only thing that I can't. Like, I don't know if this is a bias I have in my head, but I think muscle cars get away with it. There's some shit that I see. Like I've seen like hot rods and stuff on Main, and I'm like, why are you allowed to drive that? But I'm scared to drive the Aristo, which is like lowered on 19s with a kit. Like it's not even like crazy.
The one thing I will say about the muscle car is you can get the modified collector's plate, which basically means that the car is a collector car, but it's modified. And I think with that, there's a bunch of leniency.
Oh, but my Aristo is a collector car with a.
It is,
but it's modified. So like, since it's not pre-55 and modified, it's not. You can't be considered a modified collector. You have to be an OEM collector.
Yeah.
Those sons of bitches. And part of the reason, like, I knew when I asked this, like, when I pitched this idea to you guys, There isn't an answer. It's mostly going to be just.
There is an answer. There is an answer, but it's also the wrong answer. Well, the correct answer is to just buy a fucking stock car that's already fast and cool. But like that in itself has drawbacks, like the M4 guy, the Porsche guy, the Lamborghini guy. It's like, maybe, I mean, it's probably a real stretch, but those guys maybe, if they had modified cars before and they're like, fuck this getting VI stuff, I'm just going to buy a sick car to so like theoretically you should be able to buy an already fast, nice car and not be hassled. But like, yeah, I guess that's still a wrong answer.
It is, because we've noticed. Like you
got to buy a Taycan or a Model S or something that's completely silent, completely stock, and completely sick. I don't know if that exists.
That goes back to Kevin's point, which is the future of motoring will be reserved for the rich, because that's exactly. The whole point of what we do. And it's like, even I understand what you're saying. It's like, but could you own a stock car and not do anything to it? Like, is there a car that you would be like, I don't want to put wheels on it. I don't want.
I mean, yeah, but it's that car. Like,
it's the Porsche Taycan. Is that what? That's the only one.
It's literally the top of the line best car
electric
right now.
But I would still put wheels on it.
Yeah,
which may or may not make it legal.
So it's Gerard essentially saying, like, tapping out and being like, the German engineer probably knows more about suspension design than I do.
Well, it's like, I mean, like, really, how much faster do you need the car to be? It goes from 0 to 60 in like 2.8 seconds. And how much more do you need it to handle? I don't know. Like it does 270 corners at whatever.
You don't make your car look sick for those reasons. Is that why you make your car look cool? Is that why you put like vinyl on the side of it that says SERIALNINE because it helps it handle, or is it because it looks fucking dope?
It looks dope.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't picture a world like I'm putting wheels on my 4Runner, and now I'm finding out that they're cracking down on 4x4s. I'm like, am I going to get
okay? So this is one thing I will say right now is we haven't even like cracked that whole like truck market of VIs at the moment. Yeah, like the one thing I will say is like you used to kind of be able to get away with shit because it was like, all right, well, like the brand new BMW M3, which like every single person in Vancouver is driving, has super tiny fitted tires and no fender gap. Yeah. So like if like when Gerard had his Aristos on the end keys, it just basically looked like a
I never got hassled in that thing.
It looked like a GSF.
Yeah, it looks stock-ish.
It looks stock-ish and like modern and new, you know what I mean? But like people right now in those cars that have that fitment and that are of that era are getting hassled because of the exhaust, because it's loud. Because like in my opinion, the cops aren't looking for cars unless they're like super ostentatious and in your face. But like if your car makes noise, then that draws their attention instantaneously, and they look at and they see your car and you get the VI. So my thing is like if your car is silent, your car could still maybe be kind of cool. And that's why like currently I haven't done anything to the exhaust of the Crown because I drive past these cops. I live in Vancouver. I see them like weekly, daily, nearly. Mm-hmm. And I have to get away with it.
And I mean, is the Crown lowered? Sorry, because the Crown's lowered.
Yeah, the Crown's lowered. The Crown has a little bit of negative camber. The Crown has stretched tires. The Crown has aftermarket steering knuckles. The Crown has
shiny wheels.
No airbag.
No airbag. You really tossed that in there. So then here's the thing. Do you think that I could drive the Aristo and not get hassled? Like, obviously, you're not the police. I just want your opinion.
The thing is it's subjective.
Quiet?
I don't think it's terribly loud. It has an RSR exhaust on it.
Okay, well, no, you're fucked.
Then no, yeah. No.
Because like if you get pulled over and he's like, you'll rev it and it'll make a sound, and he'll be like, yeah, no.
Yeah, it is subjective. Yeah, okay. So,
but same thing. It's like if I get pulled over, there's enough things on my car that they'll just be like, no.
But that's how I feel as well. If I get pulled, if they're going through the effort to pull me over, it's done anyway. Like if that cop is using the effort to get out of his car and walk up to talk to me, it's like, yeah, I'm fucked. Like, no,
totally.
They're not going to be like, oh yeah, in Japan they put white 19s that like fit to the fender.
I feel like there was a little bit of a while there where things were getting kind of bad, and it was like, all right, well, like if things are this bad, you might as well have like the coolest car you want to have, because like you're gonna get roasted. You're gonna get roasted anyway, so you might as well have the drive the car you want anyway. But somehow it feels like it's gone past that, where it's like if you have anything done, you're gonna get roasted. So now it's like the guys who used to be like, well, you might as well have the car you want to have anywhere, are just like, well, fuck, like
you might as well not have a car.
I haven't insured my car in 2 years.
Yeah. And it's the thing is too, is like I said, like, okay, so we had the ridiculous car, and we're like, okay, let's just build a less ridiculous car, or let's build a truck. So then I built a truck, got a VI in the truck, and it's like, okay, so now I'm going to get a motorbike. So I got a motorbike that's kind of crazy. I still, knock on wood, haven't gotten a VI in the bike, but I mean, I don't ride it that much. I rode it a lot the first year I bought it, and I didn't have any qualms about riding it downtown or anything, because like I was like, yeah, it's a motorbike. Who cares? They're all fucking loud. Doesn't matter. But now would I ride my motorcycle downtown? Probably fucking not. You know what I mean? And like, so now I have like, that's why my truck is like my truck. It's like, it looks kind of stock. It's kind of a normal car. Like, you know what I mean? But it could still definitely get VI'd.
I guess going back to it, the solution you're thinking, but none of us are going to do this, right? Like, how much would it take for you to be like, fuck it, I'm done, and you just buy like an M3, or, you know, the car that like is kind of affordable, fast out of the box, but you're not going to do anything to? Like, how far does it go that you're like, yeah, I guess?
The thing is, I can't do that because it's literally in me to like modify. Like if I bought, let's say, I would probably buy like one of those BMW. I'd probably buy one of those little SUVs with the B58. But then the thing is, it has a B58, so I'd put a downpipe on it, and I'd like, you know, like lower it and like put wheels on it, and it'd be fully fucking sick. But like then fully illegal.
VI. Right.
I mean, it would have to be something like the Taycan, where it's like you can't really modify the fucking thing anyways, besides put wheels on it. I mean, I might make it so that the ride height, it's adjustable, but like maybe you could make it adjust lower.
I like that you've already in your mind imagined a way to get the car VI'd. Like, I would just make it go a little bit lower.
But I mean, that's just it. It's like if you literally can't do anything to the car and it's already sick anyways, then maybe that's the answer. But like, I mean, I don't have a spare $250,000 laying around.
None of us do.
Like,
well, nobody I know does. But that is the thing.
No option, really.
Okay, so what if it's the future, and we can do let's say we get Model 3s and we put like the Model S motors or whatever in them. So that's the mod. And like, so it's still completely silent. It's still completely like, maybe it's on air. I don't know. So like it looks normal if you want it to look normal, but then it'd still have the stretched wheels and the like probably camber and shit. So like it's already illegal. But like, as far as the exhaust and engine mods go, like maybe that would,
I mean, you're trimming off things that are you know, you're getting. I feel like you're conforming more with what they want you to do, but still trying to express yourself a bit.
Also, you've just did the thing that we asked you if you would ever do in the Tesla episode, and you were like, "No, I'll never do that. I will always have a petrol-powered car."
You could have a petrol-powered car and a modified Tesla.
Yeah, of course. But that's all I'm saying is if we're theoretically trying to have a crazy modified car that was less viable, I don't know.
I mean, probably, but we've touched on that. And I think the answer to that is it's harder to maybe pick off on those cars. Like
I feel like maybe Air Ride was like a viable, people thought that was like something that could get them out of an inspection. Because
now VI is
like, I could just make my car look super slammed and then I just drive high. But like, you know, that didn't really help those people.
But then you look like a dork, so no.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Look, we already covered this, but I do think there would be that point with like the new cars, you'd figure it out and you'd probably get away with it because they're too busy chasing
us.
Why wouldn't you? Like the Teslas are essentially an appliance. All cars are essentially an appliance, except we look at them like they're not. So then they aren't. Teslas
I have an amazing article to send to you, Ryan.
Oh, is it the washing machine article?
It's the washing machine article.
I love that. Yeah. I think you could camouflage in like if you had like a Tesla on wheels, and it was a little bit lower. And if you did like this this hypothetical engine swap that we've already made up for the car, of putting like the P90 engine in a Model 3, I
put
think
that dual drive.
Yeah, I imagine you would be fine. The thing is that none of us are really actually passionate about that. It kind of comes back to this whole doom and gloom thing. It's like, Kevin, you said it in the racetrack episode. It's like, we can't really drive it on the streets. We're running out of like racetrack to like drive our cars on for people that do that. So like, where do these cars belong? And I don't know the answer to that question. And the only thing that I can think in my head, the only reasonable answer I have is like, maybe it's just a waiting game. Maybe if I wait long enough, my car won't matter to the police anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's 100% true, man. Because there was a point.
It waxes and wanes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, there was a point when you could not even go near Richmond in a modified car because they had an issue where one of the cops got killed from some street racing incident.
Jimmy Ng.
Yeah, so then everybody went on a rampage for any sort of like fast or modified car. And yeah, like we used to have a shop on Mitchell Island, and they would set up basically roadblocks, and we couldn't leave the shop for hours because it was a Civic with an intake and lowering springs, and that thing got a VI. And it was like, oh, the intakes, and it was like an AEM, 50 state legal, blah, 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 like legit intake. And they're like, yeah, that doesn't apply here. In the same respect, that's when I built the Cressida, like the first Cressida that was like $150 and like ridiculous, like 4 different colors, super stretched wheels, like hammered out fenders, like rusting hammered out fenders. And I drove that thing around, but yeah, I never got VI'd in that one.
Yeah, because that wasn't the car that they were looking for. That wasn't a street racing car.
And also at the time, I never gave a shit. Like I just didn't. I was just so into that car.
That was the thing is like, like I have that sticker on my car where it says fear eats the soul. And it's like, yeah, you're afraid to drive your car until you're just driving it all the time. And it's like, if that was your only car, what the fuck else are you going to do? You're going to drive it everywhere. You're going to drive it all the time, and you're just going to deal with it when it comes up.
I feel like
that's your life, and that's how it's going to be.
And I feel like that's the case for a lot of people. Like these kids that are getting fucked with FRSs, like that's that kid's only car. That's that kid's first fucking car. That's, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
dude works to modify that car, and now you're just literally ripping his dreams out from under him. Like, and it's sad.
The department can make some money, and then they can maybe keep a place quiet. Or
you know what that kid should do? He should go buy a FRS NFT and a sim rig and just live the digital life. And
that's sick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't give anybody any ideas, Kevin.
But that's the thing. I grew up in Richmond.
Yeah, he had no choice.
My entire motoring life started and was in Richmond for 12 years. 12 years of my, like the beginning of my driving was in Richmond, and I had a hot pink A86 with like the most obnoxious loud exhaust you could get. And then after that, I had a glittery purple A86 with a rotary
engine with megaphones sticking out the back.
Yeah, like I got the VIs. Like I was there. It was like I was at the tail. It was kind of the tail end of that Constable Jimmy Ng thing where he was killed by a street racer. It was like a light to
stock
light street race between a Civic SIR and a stock M3, like in the middle of the day. It wasn't one of the it wasn't like the hey, we're gonna go street racing at the middle of the night in an industrial area. It was like 2 idiots in the middle of the day trying to street race, and they T-boned a cop and killed him.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it was a big thing in Richmond for a long time, and as it should be. But like it came down hard on anyone who had a modified car.
But what I was going to say,
funny that there's that correlation that automatically because you have a modified car, you're therefore a street racer.
Hey man,
what else
like you said,
modified car for?
Low hanging fruit.
I know. It's just like when you actually lay it out, it's like, no man, like I actually just take pictures of cars. And drive like a semi-decent car.
Like, have you ever dropped the clutch in second gear in your car, Ryan?
Yeah, I have, but not anywhere. Like, not Like, man, I got a wife and a kid. Like, I'm not like, hey guys,
That means
this
absolutely nothing.
Yeah, well, for
Okay,
you,
what I can make this correlation to, which I know you guys don't really relate to it, is like, what if you were like, yo, like I'm into guns. Like I really like all the mechanical aspects and how each gun is different and how intricate they are, and I like enjoy like the target practice of the shooting and like all this stuff. And it's like, I'm not out there to kill people or commit like a robbery or like do a mass shooting or any of that. I just like this thing because it's an interesting hobby, and it's like,
or it's a cool mechanical device.
A cool mechanical thing, and they're trying to take it away from you because all these other people are fucking it up, and you're like, well, it's just a hobby, you know. It's not like anything nefarious.
My only thought though about that is, are other people truly fucking this up for us? Like, to what level? Like, when is the last time?
I think those sideshow people are fucking things up.
Yeah, but
luckily that doesn't happen here.
That doesn't happen here. So what? Like,
that doesn't happen here. Yeah,
totally get your thing, and I often think that too. Like the correlate. Like I've thought about the correlation between guns and cars, and
it's definitely not a talked about topic.
I'll tell you what.
Car rights is not something anybody is.
I don't know the last time someone in Vancouver died in like a street race or a street drifting.
No, it doesn't happen.
It's not that.
Never.
It's
never.
This is about the money, and it's about whatever politics are attached to this. Mm-hmm. This isn't about.
Yeah, the cars are not unsafe. The cars community, or that like group of cars, is not some like super dangerous like group of people that are like killing people and racing everywhere.
There's so many other things going on, and yes, it is low hanging fruit. But it irks me to no end that it's like the one thing that like.
Well, it's a lot of work to go look for missing women. So just get those cars that look cool.
But exactly. Would you rather they were out there ticketing every single person riding a bicycle without a helmet?
I don't know. Sure.
And jaywalking?
Yeah.
I mean, those are all illegal items.
I totally agree. But to me, those are also like the very low hanging fruit. Yeah. So it's like,
I mean, what's a jaywalking ticket worth though?
Probably
$110.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
What's a car?
Our buddy got a ticket for riding with no helmet on the seawall. Like,
how much?
I think it was like $120. Same thing. You know what I mean?
I think I would have never got that ticket.
I think that's like the lowest amount of ticket they'll give you.
Let's go back to this. You guys aren't going to change. You're just going to roll the dice, right? Kevin, you're going to drive your car because that's what you're going to do. You're going to drive the Crown.
Honestly, no. I feel like I fully pussified myself.
Yeah, Kevin's car is pretty lame.
It's way lamer than I want it to be. I've said numerous times that I want to make the car so it can be 100% silent in a certain mode so that I can drive it around. But yeah, I'm making tons of sacrifices to.
But also in the same respect, it's like, okay, you could have an exhaust that's like cool, or now you can build an exhaust that costs twice as much simply so you can drive it quietly once in a while.
That's what I'm going to have to do.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then I guess in that way, I guess to your point, if they're concerned about sound, they've already won, right? Like they've driven the point home long enough that like this veteran of the car scene is like, yeah, I'll just try to make my car super quiet.
But because I live in Vancouver, if I lived in Burnaby or Surrey,
like for me,
I probably wouldn't care.
Really doing that.
Yeah,
like Gerard's car's already has an exhaust on it. It makes noise.
Yeah, I've been driving the Stagia for months, and it's relatively loud. It's relatively low. It's sort of fitted. It's definitely modified, but I mean, It's
got a welded exhaust. It's got a welded diff. It's got knuckles.
Yeah.
It's got an aftermarket steering wheel. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but
I was just going to say, I feel like the only thing for me is then to actually just move.
Yeah,
like
of course.
Move out of Vancouver and live somewhere else and hope that it's okay and drive the car more often. Because I've been not driving the car for like 3 years. I've driven it like 6 times.
Or hold on to it as an appreciating asset.
Honestly, there are a lot of fledgling neighborhoods that I think you would enjoy east of your current location, and you'd save a lot of money and have a bigger place.
I mean, yeah, I get that.
And we could all enjoy our cars together.
And we could all. So that's the future. I just think it's unfortunate, and I wish, like I said, I knew we wouldn't have an answer coming out of this. We've all lived through this. Correct me.
Well, I mean, the answer is that you have like a relatively stock-ish other vehicle that you drive into these lions' dens. You know,
the rule of thumb is you have a completely ghetto piece of shit vehicle that's 100% unsafe that you drive and they don't care about.
Let's call that Kevin's rule. Kevin's rule.
Yeah, Kevin's rule. I'm gonna put that in Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, I honestly thought I could wait it out. Like I thought if I waited long enough.
I mean, if you want to wait another 3 years, I think you'll be fine.
It's been like 2 already.
It's at least another 1. It'll definitely. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So yeah, you're talking about the waxes and Waynes. You go to Richmond, all you see are modified everything, Lamborghinis and fucking Range Rovers, and I mean, you name it, it's
Rolls Royce,
and it's anything, man. It's modified. Those guys throw money at anything.
The only place I've ever seen anyone drive a Rolls Royce is in Richmond. And I'm always like, that's such a weird car to choose to drive because I feel like you're meant to be driven in a Rolls Royce.
Totally. Totally. One thing I will say about the waxes and Waynes thing, and I thought about it the other day, was I was in the Crown and I saw a guy in a red EG Civic coupe with it looked like the spoon wheels, so I'm assuming they were Rotas. He had an N on the back, but like he was one car back from me and one lane over from me at the stoplight, and I was like, oh sick, like that car's modified and it's lowered and it's on wheels, and like he ended up changing lanes and going past me, and like I kind of waved at him and he turned around and was looking at me and we waved, and I was just like, man, like he's driving a modified car, I'm driving a modified car, like yeah, like fuck yeah. And like that would never happen before, because you would only wave at cars that like were in your field or genre or whatever, like the cars that you thought were really cool. Like I wouldn't be waving at some like very basically modified Civic, but now that's the only thing to wave at. Exactly, some peasant Civic. That's the only thing to wave at. And the way I compare it is like it feels like the modified car scene in Vancouver right now. It's like anytime you see any modified car, you're like, yo, you and me, yeah, like us, we're fighting. Well,
I think what you're describing is for just one moment in time, you joined the Civic Nation, and that's what you were in. Do you remember those old Civic commercials where they would wave at each other and they're like, it's Civic Nation? And
before I forget, so what happened with the VIs in Richmond? In my opinion, what happened was so many people moved there and bought crazy cars, and like it just like was such an influx that like they just kind of couldn't control it, and then they're just like, you know what, fucking like it's not that big a deal because it's just too much to do.
Or they realized it wasn't really the problem.
Yeah, and but I mean that's the thing is like it's basically like you get a bunch of ignorant people with a ton of money buying all sorts of crazy cars. Not that really matters, but just the amount of modified or crazy cars increased to the point where like none of these guys knew what had happened 3, 4, 5 years prior. They didn't give a shit. They just wanted this sick car. And then it just eventually went away because they're not going to police it every single day, you know what I mean? And like those guys truly don't give a shit because they just have so much money. They're just like, oh, like they'll get a VI in this car. They'll just go buy a different fucking car. It's just, so maybe the answer is just to everybody just not give a shit.
Yeah.
So we've solved nothing, which is fine. I didn't think we would.
I don't think has any podcast of ours ever solved anything.
I feel like we said you got to like delay gratification for how to get old and continue that. How to build a car. There was a lot of like do a lot of research, do a thing, fail, and then do it again until you get good at it. And then this one is like, I guess maybe if we can all agree on it, it's like keep your head down and don't say anything until it's okay to like till it's like okay to pop your head up and drive your car again. Like is that? Or that's what I'm saying.
It feels like
just don't drive your car in that neighborhood.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want to do and be ready to face.
That's what I might say.
Like Kevin, you're not doing what you want to do.
One thing I will say though, if you're driving by yourself and a cop pulls you over, you got to pull over. If you're driving with 5 dudes and a cop pulls you over, only one guy's got to pull over.
You should have a designated guy with like the safest car. So
You
like
could, okay.
Kevin's crown.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
In Japan,
The designated distraction car.
yeah, when they used to do those crazy top speed runs with like the really, really crazy cars that would absolutely get fucking like crushed probably if they got pulled over, they would have an identical looking car that was like basically disposable, or the one that they would sort of feed to the cops.
Yeah,
it looked the same, but then the real sick car would rip away, and then the like not sick but sick looking car would get pulled over. So maybe we need that. We just go out with like a bait car. We got our own bait cars, motherfucker.
I enjoy the Smokey and the Bandit technique.
Yeah, dude.
Sure. Put it into a trailer. We need Daryl there.
That's not Smokey and the Bandit. That's Knight Rider. Smokey and the Bandit's Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, you don't think the fucking Burt Reynolds drove into the back of an 18-wheeler?
Did he?
Smokey and the Bandit?
He probably came out of an 18-wheeler.
The whole point is that the 18-wheeler is trying to he's eastbound and down 18
Yeah, he's
wheels
trying to get the Coors.
Yeah, he's got
maybe it was Smokey and the Bandit fucking 2. I don't know.
That has an elephant in it, and he's
the elephant in the room is
the elephant in Smokey and the Bandit 2. But yeah, Burt Reynolds, his whole job is that whenever they're going to pull over the semi for speeding, he's the decoy. So the cops chase the Trans Am instead of so you have the decoy car. That's the bait car, and they can never catch him because he's motherfucking Burt Reynolds in a cowboy hat.
Exactly.
So that's the solution to the problem, everybody.
In the bond.
Build the decoy car. Have Burt Reynolds drive it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Sounds like a flawless plan.
We'll just buy a bunch of 1G crowns and dump them on fucking sick wheels.
See, we're solving problems for everyone.
Here you go. Take this one. And you get another 1G Blit or like a 1G Verosa or something. Just like garbage.
All right. So I'm saying keep your head down. Kevin's saying live your goddamn life with.
Yeah, honestly, man, like it's like fucking COVID, dude. Like I'm so sick. Like I haven't driven my Aristo on the street.
Well, you can't drive your
Aristo. Blown up.
Well, listen, like before I destroyed it, I loved driving that car on the street. But then for a while, I didn't. Like when I did, and I was the time when I did drive it on the street. I had the Yankees on it. It wasn't that low. It like looked okay, but it wasn't what I loved. And it's like, if you're going to fucking drive the car, man, just make it how you want it to look and like suffer the consequences, I guess, because you're still going to get VI'd in the sort of cool, kind of lame looking car. So just make it fucking sick.
But you you might get more tickets though.
Well,
yeah, you might die in 2 weeks, so you might as well drive the car you like for a week.
Exactly, man. And it's like, yeah, that's the thing is before I smashed it, I was like, you know what, 100% I'm driving my Aristo on the street this year. I don't really give a shit if I get VI'd or not. I was going to make it look crazy with BN and stuff. I just wanted to drive it, and then I smashed it. So now I have to build another car to drive.
That was the good Lord being like, this isn't going to end well for you, Gerard.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Maybe I should have just driven it and not get pulled over when it looked sick, and then it would have got smashed anyways. So like,
yeah, but what are they going to do? VI a crushed can? Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all right. Okay, good. I think we did it.
If anybody knows anything about the law or legal system that could possibly help their situations, if there's anything we can do or that any sort of ammunition we have against being hassled or being targeted, hey, write to us or email us or anything. I mean, are there any lawyers listening? Help us out here, man.
Yeah, we'll give you a free shout out on the podcast.
Oh, I mean, we can pay.
Yeah, or that. Money's no object for Gerard. Also, if you have any topics of conversation or questions that you'd like us to answer, feel free to DM any of us on Instagram. Leave a comment on the YouTube videos.
Contact us on the website.
Yeah.
Interpretive dance. I'm going to toss that in there.
Yeah. Smoke signals. Do a burnout.
Burnout for the boys. Yeah. All right. Well, good. So yeah, I think that covers how we feel about law enforcement in the local car scene. So Thanks for listening to Serial Podcast 9.
All right. See you later, guys.
Kevin, say bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Serial Podcast 9.